It's the last Friday of the month. Your salary just landed. Your account has never looked healthier, and for one perfect morning, you feel genuinely rich. 7 days later, you're moving money out of savings just to cover groceries, again, and you honestly cannot explain where it all went. Nothing dramatic happened. You didn't buy a television. You didn't book a holiday. There was no emergency, no disaster, no single purchase you could point to and say, that one, that's the one that broke me. And yet the number that looked so solid a week ago is now thin enough to make you nervous every time a card reader beeps. Rewind to that Friday morning. You check the banking app before you're even fully awake, the way you always do on payday. The balance sits there, round and full, and something in your chest actually relaxes. You didn't realize how tightly you'd been holding on until the money arrived and let you let go. And that morning, you behaved differently. You order the bigger coffee without glancing at the price. You say yes to dinner plans before checking anything. Someone at work is collecting for a birthday gift and you throw in more than you meant to, because why not? You can afford it. None of these choices feel like decisions. They feel like breathing. That's the strange part. The week after payday, spending doesn't feel like spending at all. Week one passes like that. Loose, generous, a few purchases you'd struggle to name 3 days later, a delivery order here, a small upgrade there, a round of drinks that was your idea. Every one of them defensible. Every one of them small. Then somewhere around day 10, you open the app again, and this time your chest does the opposite of relaxing. The number is lower than it should be. Not catastrophic, just lower than the math in your head. You scroll the transaction list looking for the culprit, and there isn't one. There are 40 of them, each too small to matter. Together, they've eaten a third of your month. So week two, you adjust. Quietly, you start checking prices again. You cook a little more. You tell yourself the first week was just catching up on things you'd been putting off. By week three, you're doing arithmetic in the supermarket aisle. You put one item back on the shelf casually, like you change your mind about it rather than about your balance. You start timing purchases against the calendar in your head. Can this wait 9 more days? And week four is a different life entirely. Week four, you eat what's already in the cupboard. Week four, you decline the invitation and invent a reason that isn't money. Week four, the same person who tipped generously on day two is now calculating whether the bus is worth it over walking. Same job, same salary, same you. Two completely different people, 4 weeks apart. Then payday comes. The number refills, your chest unclenches, and the entire cycle resets like it never happened. Here's the part that makes it worse. At some point, you get a raise, a real one, and you assume this is the fix because you've been telling yourself the whole time that the problem is the size of the number. But watch what actually happens. The rich week gets richer, the bigger coffee becomes, the bigger everything. Week one inflates to fit the new salary almost immediately, and week four arrives right on schedule anyway. The famine at the end of the month survives every raise you throw at it. That's the moment it stops being a math problem. Because if more money produced the same cycle, the cycle was never about the amount. It was about something the amount does to you. In the 1980s, an economist named Richard Thaler noticed that people don't treat money the way spreadsheets do. In a spreadsheet, every dollar is identical and interchangeable. In your head, it isn't. Your mind quietly sorts money into separate mental folders. Salary money, bonus money, savings money, leftover money, and applies completely different rules to each folder. He called it mental accounting, and it earned him a Nobel Prize because it explains an enormous amount of otherwise irrational behavior, including yours right now. Because when your salary lands, your brain doesn't file it as rent plus bills plus food plus transport plus the future. It files the entire amount into a single folder, and the folder has one label, plenty, and money labeled plenty comes with plenty rules, loose ones. This isn't a personal flaw. It shows up at every income level, and it shows up in data that has nothing to do with willpower. Researchers studying food assistance programs found that families receiving monthly benefits eat measurably less by the end of each cycle. In one well-known study, caloric intake dropped by more than 10% between the start of the benefit month and the end. The money arrived on a schedule. The hunger followed the same schedule. The total was enough. The shape of the month was not, which reveals what's actually happening every time you open that app on payday morning. Your brain doesn't read the balance as a number. It reads it as a signal. A full account broadcasts one word, safe, and a brain that feels safe loosens its grip automatically. A thin account broadcasts danger, and the grip tightens just as automatically. You've been thinking of yourself as one person with one set of habits. You're actually two. The person your brain becomes when the signal says abundance, and the person it becomes when the signal says scarcity. Neither of them checked with you first. And notice the trap hidden inside that. The signal is wrong. On day one, the balance says safe, but that money already has 30 days of obligations attached to it. It only looks like plenty because none of the bills have arrived to claim their share yet. You're reading a room full of reserved seats and seeing empty chairs. There's an even smaller version of this you felt in your own pocket. Hand you 5 separate 20s and they'll be gone by the weekend. Hand you a single 100 and you'll carry it for days, oddly reluctant to break it. Researchers call it the denomination effect. The same value in one unbroken piece feels whole, and whole things feel wrong to crack open. The moment it's broken, the remainder stops feeling like real money and starts feeling like loose change on its way out. Your monthly salary is one giant unbroken bill. The first purchase of the month breaks it, and everything after that first crack spins easier than it should. So what actually changes this? Not discipline. You've tried discipline. Discipline is week 3 and week 4, and you already do that half of every month for free. The fix isn't gripping harder. It's changing the signal before your brain reads it. Start with the way you see the number itself. Stop reading your balance as an amount and start reading it as time. 2,000 in the account isn't a pile, it's 30 days, which means everything you buy is priced in days, not dollars. That dinner isn't $40, it's half a day of your month handed over. The moment money becomes time, the abundance signal loses its power because time never looks infinite. Nobody sees 30 days remaining and feels rich. They feel exactly as covered as they actually are, which is the whole point. Then break the pile before the pile can talk to you. Within the first hour of payday, before the first coffee, before the first yes, split the salary into separately named places. Rent money goes where rent money lives. Food money gets its own space. Next month money leaves the account entirely, somewhere slightly annoying to reach. What survives in your main account isn't your salary anymore. It's your actual spending money, and it was never a big number to begin with. This works for the same reason the old envelope system worked for your grandparents, long before anyone had a word for it. Money with a name on it is money your brain stops counting as available. Thaler's folders don't disappear. You can't delete how your mind works, but you can choose the labels yourself instead of letting one giant folder marked plenty run your entire month. So picture the next payday. The salary lands. Same number as always. But this time it exists as one pile for less than an hour, and then it's gone, divided, named, each piece behind its own door. And here's what you notice. The rich feeling never arrives. That expansive, breathe easy, why not morning simply doesn't happen. For a second, you almost miss it. But then week 2 arrives and there's no shock in the app. Week 3 arrives and nothing goes back on the shelf. Week 4 arrives and it looks exactly like week 1. You say yes to the dinner on day 26 without doing math in your head because the answer was already decided on day 1 by the calmest version of you. You don't feel rich anymore on payday morning. You feel something better, something that lasts past day 7 even. And it turns out that the feeling you were chasing in that full balance, the relaxing of the chest, the letting go, was never really about having plenty. It was about knowing you're covered. The full account only ever borrowed that feeling for a week. Now you own it for the whole month.